Hello, I'm John David Bruja on location, standing in front of Nobska Point Lighthouse in Massachusetts. And welcome to a special edition of John's Traveling Movie Corner. United States Lighthouse Society presents Cape Cod and Islands Tour. Well, it's another day, so that only can mean another day of traveling to lighthouses. First up on the list, Race Point Lighthouse.
And thanks to Art's Dune Tours, several drivers, and several Suburbans, we were able to travel roughly 2 miles over the beach to get to our first lighthouse, Race Point Lighthouse.
Normally it would be a 45-minute walk to this lighthouse.
Well, I made it up to the Lantern Room in Race Point Lighthouse. First came here in 1816. The one I'm standing in arrived in 1876.
$8,000 was allocated for the first lighthouse in 1816, which was a 25-foot tall Robostone tower. A fog building came in 1852, and a fourth order lens arrived in 1855. In 1863, the tower was taken down and was rebuilt with a new lantern room. In 1873, they received a fog signal house. 1874, an assistant keeper's house was built. Supposedly, it's supposed to be one of the windiest places on the coast, but I'm lucking out today. It was electrified in 1957 and automated in 1972. Unfortunately, it became a popular place for vandals. It was finally leased to the American Lighthouse Foundation in 1995. The keeper's house was modernized and overnight stays started in 1988. And yes, it was a movie location for The Light Keepers, set in 1912 and released in 2009, starring Richard Dreyfuss, Blythe Danner, and Bruce Dern. They filmed a lot of scenes out here at the lighthouse, but the lantern room was filmed on museum grounds using the old lantern and lens from Chatham Lighthouse. And if you're even lucky enough, when you come down to the shore, you might see a seal or even a whale. I was lucky, I saw some seals. I'm on the Cape Cod National Seashore, and Race Point Lighthouse is on the westernmost tip of it. I'm standing in front of the whistle house, which once was a boiler room for the steam whistle. Now, in the late 1980s, it was converted to a bed and breakfast. And if you happen to be here at the right time, you might see a plane fly over, because the airport is just right alongside of Race Point Lighthouse. Well, this is what's next on our agenda, a 2-hour cruise on the Bay Lady 2 schooner. We boarded the schooner Bay Lady 2 and headed out. We picked a beautiful day for a sail to see 2 lighthouses in the Cape Cod Bay area. First up, Long Point Lighthouse. $2,500 was allocated for the light, established in 1826. In 1856, a 6-order Fresnel lens arrived. A new dwelling and fog signal building arrived in 1874, and the current brick tower was built in 1875 at a height of 38 feet. It was automated in 1952, and a 4th order lens was replaced with solar panels in 1981. The Coast Guard still owns the light, and it is still active today. And yes, that is Wood End Lighthouse in the distance. The second lighthouse is Wood End Lighthouse. $15,000 was appropriated to establish a lighthouse in 1872 at a height of 39 feet. Located on the southernmost point on the Sandy Hook that forms Provincetown, it lies between Race Point and Long Point Lighthouse.
And in 1896, a 1.5-story wooden keeper's dwelling was built along with a oil house and shed. It was automated in 1961, and it was one of the first in the country to receive solar panels in 1981. And Pilgrim Monument is visible in the background of both lighthouses, which ironically is our next destination.
I am at Pilgrim Monument. It was constructed between 1907 and 1910. It stands at 252 feet and 7.5 inches. It commemorates the first landfall of the Pilgrims back in 1620 and the signing of the Mayflower Compact at Provincetown Harbor. It is the tallest all-granite structure in the United States.
And of course, you know me, I'm going to climb the tower. All 116 steps and 60 ramps. But on my way, I'm going to check out these unique etchings in the granite and the plaques of different cities and other things written in stone. And once you reach the top, check out the spectacular views of Provincetown, the seashore and the harbor, and maybe even a lighthouse in the distance. And don't forget to look up and check out the gargoyles. And of course, what goes up must come down. And once you finish climbing the monument, check out the Provincetown Museum and its unique artifacts and the history of the surrounding area. And after you climb the tower and tour the museum, take the inclined elevator and enjoy the view on your way to downtown Provincetown.
Well, as you can see, it's either the end of the tour or my shaver broke. But it doesn't matter because we still have some more lighthouses to see. Nobska Point, Wings Neck, Ned's Point, and Pomham Rocks. First up behind me, Nobska Point Lighthouse. It is one of 2 lighthouses located in Cape Cod, and it was built in 1828 for under $3,000. Nobska Point's entrance to Woods Hole Harbor. Established in 1828, the current light behind me in 1876 at 40 feet tall, and it's on the northerly side of Vineyard Sound. The original 1828 lighthouse had an octagonal tower on top of the keeper's dwelling. The current cast iron tower is lined with brick with a new 1.5-story wood dwelling. In 1948, a 125-foot steel radio beacon tower was installed. Joseph Henley took over in 1968 and left in 1972 and was believed to be the last civilian lighthouse keeper in New England. He spent 44 years as dedicated service of a lighthouse keeper. The Nobska Point Lighthouse was automated in 1985. And that's right, it is the first of hopefully 4 lighthouses I get to climb up. This one, 33 steps to the lantern room. That's right, I was able to get up to the Nobska lantern room and check out the 4th order lens. Well, we've reached our next lighthouse, Wings Neck Lighthouse. Wings Neck Lighthouse was first built in 1848. The current one behind me, 1889, at a height of 32 feet tall. The hexagonal wooden tower needed renovation 8 years later. In 1857, a 4th order lens replaced whale oil lamps and reflectors. A covered walkway was built in 1899, and a bell tower and fog bell arrived in 1902. A fire in 1878 caused major damage. In 1928, the light went from fixed to flashing, with a new lens and beacon converted to electricity in 1934. It was decommissioned in 1945 after Cleveland Ledge light was lit in 1943. The Wings Neck Lighthouse sold just for under $14,000 in 1947. Right now it's privately owned, but thanks graciously to Christina Stevens, she allowed us around and all the way up to the lantern room, all 25 steps. That's right, I made it up to another lantern room, this time Wings Neck Lighthouse. Oh, we crossed a Bourne Bridge, so that can only mean one thing. We're out of Cape Cod. But we're at another lighthouse, Ned's Point, and we were able to go inside and all the way up to the lantern room and out for a beautiful view. Ned's Point Lighthouse was first lit in 1838 after $5,000 was appropriated to build it, and it stands at 39 feet tall. Located at Veterans Memorial Park, it is one of the smallest working lighthouses on Buzzards Bay. The original 35-foot stone tower had a cast iron birdcage lantern room, one of the few that was still remaining, but as you can see, it has been replaced. In 1857, it received a fifth order lens. In 1868 to 69, major renovations on the keeper's dwelling was done. Demolished after an 1888 hurricane, a new house was built on the same foundation. The birdcage was removed and a current lantern room was replaced in 1896. Ned's Point Lighthouse was automated in 1923. And ironically, the keeper's house was loaded onto a scow and floated over to Wings Neck Lighthouse, which we saw previously. And it still stands there today as a private residence. Majority of the grounds, not the light though, was sold to the town of Mattapoisett in 1958. Ned's Point Lighthouse was reactivated in 1961. Tower was renovated in 95 and 96, and more repairs occurred in August of 2011. 32 steps all the way up to the lantern room. Well, we've seen around 30 lighthouses, several museums, a life-saving station or two, and some movie locations. So that can only mean one thing. One lighthouse left on the tour. Well, we are going to be taking our last boat ride to the last lighthouse and climb all the way up to the last tower. So that can only mean one thing. We've come full circle. We started in Rhode Island at Connecticut Lighthouse. We are ending in Rhode Island at Pomham Rocks Lighthouse. We are standing at the Edgewood Yacht Club, waiting for a boat to take a 10-minute ride to Pomham Rocks Lighthouse. Congress appropriated $20,000 in July of 1870 for a new lighthouse, which arrived in 1871. It's at a height of 40 feet. It ended its run in 1974, but was relit in 2006. Located in East Providence, Rhode Island, it is the northernmost lighthouse in the Narragansett Bay. It is located about 800 feet from the shore. Fog siren was installed in 1900, but it was replaced by a fog bell in 1902. In 1828, a beacon was placed out in the water, but it was proved inadequate, and it ended its run shortly thereafter. But it still remains out in the water, Providence River, and it is known as Pomham Beacon. And the Pomham lenses that were used in the lighthouse tower. And 2018 ended a 14-year-long restoration period. Well, it's the last lighthouse on the tour, and it's Pomham Rocks Lighthouse, and I got to go all the way up to the lantern room. Some interesting facts about Jaws. You know, Jaws would have looked a whole lot different if these original people would have starred in it. For example, Chief Brody, they wanted Charlton Heston, but it went to Roy Scheider. In fact, even Robert Duvall was the first choice, but he wanted the part of Quint. But Spielberg thought he was too young for the part. Speaking of Quint, it did finally go to Robert Shaw, but Lee Marvin was the first choice, and Sterling Hayden, the Godfather police captain, was also suggested. And then, of course, we have Matt Hooper, which Richard Dreyfuss turned down twice before accepting it. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. A show of this magnitude has a lot of people in front and especially behind the cameras. And at this time, I would like to thank them. I would like to thank our bus driver during this tour, Melva, for getting us safely from lighthouse to lighthouse to lighthouse to lighthouse to lighthouse to... Okay, you get the idea. I would like to thank Rob from Arts Dune Tours and the rest of the drivers for bringing us to the lighthouse. I would like to thank the staff and volunteers at Race Point Lighthouse for allowing us access inside and all the way up to the tower. I would like to thank the captain of the crew of the Bay Lady 2 for getting us safely to each lighthouse and back to port. I would like to thank the staff and volunteers at Nobska Point Lighthouse for allowing us inside their keeper's dwelling and all the way up to the lantern room of the tower. And I would like to thank Christina Stevens for allowing us inside and all the way up to the lantern room at Wings Neck Lighthouse. And I would like to thank the Coast Guard Auxiliary for allowing us inside and all the way up to and out of the lantern room for beautiful views of the surrounding area. And I would like to thank the captain and the crew for getting us safely to and from Pomham Rocks Lighthouse. I would like to thank the volunteers and staff at the Pomham Rocks Lighthouse for allowing us to visit your island and go inside and go all the way up to the lantern room. And I would like to thank our historian narrator on the tour, Jeremy D'Entremont. And I would like to thank the United States Lighthouse Society for providing us this tour and our tour guides, Tina and Rick Hans. Finally, I would like to thank the hardest working travel consultant, photographer, and shopper, my wife, Carlene Bruja, because if it wasn't for her, this trip would not have been possible. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm John David Bruja, on location at Race Point Lighthouse in Massachusetts. This has been a special edition of John's Traveling Movie Corner. United States Lighthouse Society presents the Cape Cod and Islands Tour. I hope you enjoyed the ride.